Michelle Carter here, and I'm the owner of MCB Nurse Consultant. And I'm the #1 DON coach that helps directors and nurses in long-term care to increase their impact, their influence, and also their income. Today I want to talk to you about survey readiness. This is our third part of a 4-part series on succeeding together, the team readiness for unexpected long-term care surveys. Week 1 and 2, we've already have videos for week 1 and 2. Week 1, we talked about we talked about understanding the importance of team readiness, understanding as a leader in long-term care of how to get your team ready, how to make sure you have the right team members in the right positions, give them the right tasks. And we learned about how to use that by learning the Bank methodology method, with knowing all 4 personalities and what the values and attributes of each personality to help you be ready for survey. Week 2, we talked about communication strategies for effective preparedness for survey. Being able to communicate effectively is so important as a nurse leader, as a director of nursing, and having your team, your supervisors, your ADONs, your wound nurse, your infection control nurses, to be able to communicate. But you also want to make sure your LPNs, your CNAs, your restorative nurses, your restorative aides, and also if you have PCAs and if you have med techs or PCAs, if you in some of your buildings, in some states they do use those in long-term care, that they use those individuals long-term care. You want to make sure they communicate effectively also. So this week we're going to dive into our operational preparedness and protocol adherence. And it's so important as a director of nursing that you have a process to understand your operational processes and also your policies and procedures. But your team has to be able to understand it and help you also. So one of the most important things we want to talk about, we're going to start talking about enhancing staff training and competency. Empower your team through continuous staff training and guarantee they're fully equipped with the operational protocols essential for survey readiness. How do you do that? You have to make sure you have strong leaders in your communities and in your facilities that's able to engage with your team, engage with them in their personality code, and be able to teach them in their personality code. One of the best people to be able to teach your team is your knowledge and your blueprints. Knowledge and blueprint individuals are going to be able to have the structure educational program. They're going to also the knowledge is also going to go and do that deeper dive for the evidence base and research and really understand the protocols. Those are the ones that you want to make strong for your education processes. You also want to pull in your nurturing and your action people, because you want the team to feel like it is a community, the authenticity, and be able to feel like that they are being empowered. And that action is going to give them, the action individual is going to give them that motivation to move to the next level. Now, we also want to make sure when we're doing our operational protocols that we have a very, very tight and concise documentation and record keeping. Me personally, I have to learn this from a trial and error, not always having documentation together. Now, when you look at documentation, a lot of things that DONs, we mess, or we kind of get overwhelmed. Two of the things that we kind of mess with our documentation is reading the nurse's notes and also reviewing the investigations to the T. In a lot of different states, the surveyors are really, really honing down on your investigation processes. And you always want to read your nurse's note. A lot of DONs don't do that, but that's a good task to do. Me as a DON, I learned that years ago, to read the nurse's note, because you never know what is going to be in those nurse's notes. Yes, we're going to look at 24-hour report. Yes, we're going to look at anything on our dashboards if we have electronic EMR. Most of us are using PCC, or we're using Matrix Care, so you can look at the dashboard in 24 hours, but read those nurse's notes and make sure your nurses understand what the documentation entails. Pay attention to those nurses' notes. That is a good job for a blueprint or also a knowledge person to be able to review that with you. If that's something that you can't do yourself, appoint a strong supervisor that has that knowledge personality, or your ADON that has a blueprint personality, so they can kind of do those deep dive analytical reviews of your documentation. You want to make sure that you have that in your education program to teach your nurses how to document, what to document, when to document, and how to document it. You want to make sure you have it in your education program for all your team leaders of how to work to do the investigation. And something that I've learned from my experience, again, trial and error, you can't do it all. It's so good. It's so more effective making your investigation a team effort. You may have this particular person start the investigation. This particular person may be doing the reporting to Department of Health or protective services or talking to the family members. But then you come together and everybody looked up it, so because new eyes may catch something that you missed. So again, your documentation and record keeping is so important. When it comes to our next essential protocol, operational protocol we want to look at is quality assurance and performance improvement. It's essential to understand the pivotal role of the quality assurance programs and monitoring and elevating to elevate organizational performance. And by implementing a quality improvement initiatives, you'll be effective to pinpoint specific areas that needs enhancement. Trying to do your PIPs. I think we think too much into our performance processes. It can be something very, very small that you can turn into a PIP that you find that can be a challenge that you want to change. I'm going to give you examples, some PIPs that we may, some examples of PIPs that most directors and nurses look at, and some things that you may not even think of looking at. We always want to look at our skin and our falls. That is definitely going to be PIPs that you want to improve your skin program. You want to improve your falls and reduce falls. That's 100%. We always want to make sure that we do that. But you could do something around that issue, around that situation to improve it also. We did a PIP for our CNA assignment sheets. We did because we realized the CNA assignment sheets on each neighborhood, because in my facility we use the term neighborhood, they were different. They were different, and they had different. Different items on their assignment sheets. So we did a PIP to make that continuous throughout the assignment sheets for the CNAs and for the nurses were the same on every neighborhood with the same information. We also did a PIP for. We were running into a lot of residents was getting skin tears. So we kind of looked at why they were getting skin tears. And this was a couple of years ago. One of the biggest reasons was getting skin tears. We had a lot of team members that had artificial nails. Now listen, I'm not against artificial nails, but there's a time and a place for it. Long nails this long are not appropriate for long-term care. They were causing residents to have bruises and skin tears. Well, we did a PIP for that, but I included the floor nurses. A really, really strong nurse that liked wounds was an LP, and I included her. And we also wanted to re-educate the CNAs about how to moisturize the residents' skin. We've done PIPs for things that maybe you kind of don't want to look in. You kind of think it's not a huge problem, but it can turn into a large problem. We did PIPs for showers because some of our nurses were changing the showers and not documenting it to the other shifts, so people were missing their showers. So we did a PIP for something like that. That's a process improvement. That could have got us into trouble if we didn't catch that from talking to the staff, reading the nurses' notes, and be engaged with our staff. We would have caught that in our survey. So those are some of the things you want to look at with your PIPs. Take small things. If you have a small problem that you think you can improve, use your team. Get all 4 personalities in that PIP. Get your blueprint personalities. You can help you structure the PIP. You can have your nurture and your action to be able to engage the team, get the team motivated, to get them and give them challenges of how to get to the next step. And then also have your knowledge person help you come back with the analytics and the data to see what's working and what's not. Our next thing we want to make sure is that you have established policies and procedures. Know your policies and procedures, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more as we go through our video. But know your policies and procedures. It's so important to know your policies and procedures. Surveyors, majority of people get cited because they didn't follow the regulation and they did not follow their own policies and procedures. Do policies and procedures review. Pull one of those personalities. A knowledge or blueprint person would be excellent to pull them out to review your policies, and do that on a monthly basis. Pick a couple each month to review it to make sure that you're in process so you'll be ready if you have an unexpected survey. Also, if you're having difficulties with a challenge like that, you might want to engage, you might want to implement your action and your nurturing to get the team on board for understanding the policies and procedures, because that's not always a fun task to read over them. It's so important that you know that your team knows that, especially your management team. It is not just the responsibility of the director of nursing to know all the policies and procedures by herself, or by him or herself. It is the responsibility of all the management team to know the policies. So why don't we do a policy procedure review? Have a lunch and learn that you sit there and we're going to do a policy procedure review and go through the policies, the high top ones that you know that you've been cited for within the last 3 years or that you haven't challenged with, so you'll be aware of it. The last thing we want to talk about in this section is mock surveys. Having mock surveys. Some of you are small facilities and you don't have the ability to have a mock survey. Do that mock survey internally. You can do a mock survey internally without your regional person. You can have certain people to review certain things. So, for example, if you're the director of nursing and you have your infection control nurse, maybe it'll be really important if you have somebody that does nothing with infection control. It could be a supervisor to audit what's going on in infection control, or somebody who has nothing to do with wounds to audit something that has something with wounds. Because you have to remember, when you have surveyors come in the building, you're going to have different levels of surveyors. You have sometimes your social workers and dietitians that's looking at infection control. They're following the regulation and your policy. If you follow your regulation and your policy, you will be more successful and you'll be able to do your mock surveys. Doing the mock surveys gives you a chance to see what you need to work on more, and it gives you a chance to what you need to work on more and how to improve it by using a PIP, going back to that quality improvement. And doing different assessments. Utilize assessments, the assessment tools that you have. A lot of us are using Abacus. Utilize Abacus. I'm going to be honest, I was not a big fan of Abacus because I thought it was more work for us to do. If you want to learn a little bit more about Abacus, I can do another video about that. I thought it was a lot more work for us to do until I really got in there and utilized it. And it was really, really helpful, and it showed us where, from talking to our residents and our team members, where our weak points are and where we were strong and where we needed to improve. Our next section that we want to talk about briefly is so important about having established policies and procedures and that you're compliant with them. You want to outline and communicate clear policies and procedures. You want to foster a proactive approach. I know how busy we are, but if you put this on your calendar for the year, for the next quarter, this is quarter 2. You still have a couple. This is the third week of April. You still have some time to put on your calendar to review policies the next quarter. And if it's 1 a week or 2 a week or 3 a week, and you each do it as a team effort, it can be so much more effective. That's something that I'm doing at my facility, because we do get caught up. We think we know what the policy is until we realize, and then compare that policy to the regulation, and that way that you know that you're doing what you're truly in compliance. Implement hands-on programs for the policies. Give your staff real-life scenarios. Your staff needs to know the policies and procedures. Now, if you have a policy and procedures that is 25 pages long, no, you're not going to spend an hour reading a 25-page policy to your CNAs and your LPNs. Take the important parts of it, give those to your nurturing and your action people, and make it a fun activity for them to learn it. 1 year I did quizzes for survey preparedness. Each day for a month, I would put a question at the time clock, and whoever got the question right, they got in a raffle and they was able to win a prize. So you can do fun things like that, so they can be aware of what the regulations and the policies are. You want to keep them engaged as much as possible. You also want to offer guidelines and handle situations. When you do have those unexpected surveys, you want to be able to, who's in charge of what? You should have established change of who's going to be in charge of pulling the policies and procedures, who's going to be in charge of what department's going to be in charge of reading their policy and procedures, and you want to implement training programs for all the department heads. You want to be able to get them adapt to this is an everyday life. This is every day. The worst thing you want to hear, and it's been said multiple times, when staff tells you, the Department of Health is here, now you want to come to the floor, now everybody wants to run around. You should not have to run around when the Department of Health comes into your building, because unexpected surveys are going to happen. They happen to the best buildings. They're going to happen, but you want to be responsible, and you want to also, and this is a rule of thumb that I tell every person that I interview, I'm not a very good person with surprises. I never want the Department of Health to come in my building. I do not have at least one idea of why they're there for an unexpected survey. You want to collaborate with team members that are strong in certain areas. You want to draw on their unique strength. You want to know those personalities, and by able to do that, you learn their personalities by using the bank methodology, that you can have them be able to do strong things even in the unexpected surveys. Could do drills. Make sure you're doing elopement drills. Make sure you're doing especially elopement drills. Elopement, I know in the state of Pennsylvania, they have changed the way the elopement regulation is reading, and they're tagging a lot of facilities in the Pennsylvania area. And I can only speak for Pennsylvania right now, but I will get research for across the board. But they're tagging them at an IJ level for elopements, because people are not, the team did not know what to do. Do those elopement protocols. Make sure your elopement drills. Make sure your team knows what to do in elopement, the follow-up, who to call, how to handle it, who is supposed, and especially the follow-up and how to put the whole investigation together. We always do fire drills. So fire drills is something you're going to do. But you can do also, you have to do your emergency preparedness drills. That is something that you can most definitely do drills with. Some things when it comes to nursing is kind of hard to do drills with, but you can do simulations. You can do a day in the life or hands-on training of how to handle a situation, whether it be abuse training, infection control training, and give them case studies and scenarios. Do the quizzes, make it a challenge so your team can be well aware of what the policy and procedure says. And you want to be proactive and do this throughout the year so you're ready for your annual survey, but you also want to be ready for any unexpected surveys. I hope this was helpful for you. Again, we will be doing our last session next week. And we'll be talking about, I have some fun things I'm ready for you for the month of May, but we're going to wrap this up next week, and I'm going to give a bonus video. So you'll get 2 videos next week. So I'm excited about that, to kind of just wrap things up. And if you want to we can do a Q&A session, and we can go over things more deeply. I want to share this with you because I've been a director of nursing for 17 years, and it has not been an easy 17 years. I had a lot of bumps in the road. I had a lot of trial and errors, but I want to be able to let you know you are not alone in this. None of us, there is no perfect building. There is no perfect DON. We're all trying to do the best job possible to make sure our residents are getting quality care. We're getting quality care. We're making sure our team is satisfied and our families are satisfied, and we stay in compliance with our regulatory agencies. And it can be hard, but I want to be able here to give that support to you. We give that support through our coaching programs. Give that support with one-on-one, and I wanted to just give this back, that you get a chance to understand how you can truly get your team involved in a survey process, because you cannot do it alone as a director of nursing. And I cannot wait to see you next week. Again, we're doing some surprise things for this week. If you're able to give back in some of the some of the knowledge that you've learned. I have surprise gifts for people, for individuals. So I cannot wait to talk to you next week. Take this knowledge, be able to use this knowledge with your team, and I hope this was helpful to you.